New information tonight from the Lee County Sheriff's Office as reports come in of scammers trying to take advantage of tornado victims.
Those types of warning signs are there.
Plus, the latest from Washington as the Attorney General determines what can be made public. Tonight, what the Alabama Republican Party has to say about the latest developments. And later in sports, both the men and women from Auburn are seeking NCAA tournament action. Our sports team breaks down your scores and highlights tonight at 6. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Jordyn Elston. Morgan is off tonight. Local and state officials are warning tornado survivors in Lee County about home repair scams. While we've seen thousands of volunteers in Lee County lending a helping hand, there have also been others in Lee County looking to take advantage of those trying to recover from the deadly storms. WSFA 12 News reporter Samantha Day spoke with the Lee County Sheriff today about what you should do if you think you've been scammed. Tonight at 10, we'll give you some more tips on how to avoid being scammed and how to report any suspicious activity. And some happier news from that area. Two moms from Lee County came up with the idea for Beauregard birthdays. And today they held a birthday party for 3 siblings who lost all of their belongings in the storm. The children were shocked when they walked into Good Old Boys in Auburn this afternoon and saw their surprise birthday party. One of Beauregard birthday founders says throwing the party wouldn't have been possible without the help of the community.
We're having a birthday party for the Clark family. There are 5 children and 3 of them recently had birthdays, with one coming up and one that we missed. So we are just celebrating the entire family with the community's help. We've got, presents for each child, and we had cupcakes and cake pops donated and balloons donated, and Good Old Boys is hosting us today.
The kids received bikes, helmets, and toys and were able to celebrate the birthdays they weren't able to because of the storm. This is the second birthday party Beauregard Birthdays has thrown since then. And happening tomorrow, a number of churches in the River Region's faith community are coming together to help tornado survivors. Organizers are holding the Hand in Hand benefit concert starting at 5 in the Resurrection Catholic Church on Forbes Drive. All donations made will go toward tornado relief. And it looks like the weather will be cooperating with us for a change this weekend as we stayed sunny, cool, and dry across the state. Let's turn things over to WSFA First Alert meteorologist Lee Southwick with a look at our forecast. Lee? Thanks so much, Lee. And in the meantime, don't forget to keep an eye on the WSFA First Alert weather app for the latest weather updates, hour-by-hour forecasts, and interactive radar as our weekend continues. New tonight, Montgomery police are investigating a shooting that took place this afternoon. It happened in the 4600 block of Mobile Highway, where MPD and fire medics found 2 men with gunshot wounds. Both subjects were taken to the hospital, one of them with life-threatening injuries. Neither person has been identified and no arrests have been made. MPD also responded to another shooting at around 3:30 this afternoon, this time to the area of Stevens and Holt Street. There they found a man injured in a shooting that Sergeant David Hicks says happened over on Queensberry Drive off of Narrow Lane Road. That's where a woman had also been shot. Both people were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police are investigating. Also this afternoon, authorities are investigating a 2-car crash near the Montgomery Country Club that led to a police chase involving the Coushatta Police Department. Details are limited, but we know it happened at the intersection of Allendale and Narrow Lane Road, causing delays in the area. No one was injured, and MPD tells us that Coushatta Police are looking into what happened. We've reached out to them for more information, but have yet to hear back. Another crash to report on tonight, this one in Crenshaw County, where a man who was driving a go-kart was killed in a collision with a motorhome. It happened just before 9 o'clock last night on Highway 97 in Crenshaw County. Sergeant Drew Brooks with the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency says the victim was driving the go-kart in the street when he was hit. Aaliyah is currently investigating. No news to report from Attorney General William Barr, who spent today at the Justice Department reviewing Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report on Russia meddling in the 2016 election. Barr will soon decide what will be released to Congress and possibly the public after Mueller ended his almost 2-year investigation. The latest now from Jennifer Johnson in Washington. Alabama GOP Chairman Terry Lathan commenting this morning on the release of the Mueller report. Her statement reads in part, "With the Mueller report complete, proving no Russian collusion involving the Trump campaign, it is now time to take a hard look at this entire dark chapter of our nation's history. The malfeasance of the national media has undermined their credibility. Their obvious slanted coverage of the 2016 presidential campaign and the first 2 years of the Trump administration is simply deplorable." Again, the Mueller report is still being reviewed and has yet to be released to Congress or the public. Happening now in the capital city, if you're looking for something to do this weekend in the River region, you still have time to check out all of the activities going on at the Montgomery Zoo. Today and tomorrow mark the zoo's 43rd annual Zoo Weekend, which had been postponed to this weekend following rough weather earlier this month. It's a family-friendly event with live entertainment, games, rides, and a whole lot more.
We've added so many different things. We've got games, we've got rides, we've got 2 stages of entertainment, police departments out here, fire departments out here. So it's just a lot of fun and an easy way for families to have a great weekend and help the zoo at the same time.
Zoo Weekend also serves as a fundraiser for the zoo, with proceeds going towards a new reptile facility. If you want to go, the zoo is open tomorrow from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Up next, we've got a warning about a new phone scam for you to watch out for. Also coming up at 6, a Montgomery woman's vision comes to life at a youth club to help kids in her community, how they're raising money and awareness. And take a trip back in time this weekend in Greenville. We're taking a look at the 4th annual Medieval Fantasy Festival. And later, a new treatment is being tested to help people living with sickle cell disease. The process may be shocking, but the doctor behind it says it can make a big difference.
Live, local, now. This is WSFA 12 News.
Welcome back. An alert tonight from the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency about a new phone scam aimed at Alabamians. According to ALEA, scammers are calling residents claiming to be ALEA officers with warrants for an individual's arrest, followed by requests for credit card information or other personal information, either over the phone or through email. The best thing to do to avoid being scammed is to hang up the phone and report it to your local law enforcement. A Montgomery organization is helping provide a safe place for youth in the community to come together to learn and develop life skills. Divas and Gents Youth Club hosted its first ever Save a Child 5K walk to raise awareness and funds for the program. The youth club is the idea of a Montgomery woman with a heart supporting and growing the children of her community.
Our mission is to change lives and change mindsets of the youth today, and see if we can get them on a more positive road of becoming the best that they can be, productive citizens for our community.
Director Deborah Caldwell is reaching out to get more community members involved through volunteering and donations. And if you'd like to help, you can call her at 334-676-2032. A blast from the past this weekend in Butler County. The Alabama Medieval Fantasy Festival is back for a 4th year in Greenville. The 30 acres of fairgrounds is decked out with medieval kitchens, cottages, and stages. The fun includes comedy shows, historically accurate jousting, and live music.
We have living history here. We have Saxon encampments. We have cooks and bakers. These people cook and bake their products the same way they did in that period. We grow our own vegetables here on the property. They churn their own butter, and they teach kids how to make soap and incense.
Now, the Medieval Festival is located at 4776 Fort Dale Road. It continues through Sunday. This weekend has been as good as any if you're looking to get outside. When we come back, Lee Southwick gives us a first alert on when rain could come back into the picture.
And man, Jordyn, today was absolutely beautiful. I opened up my windows. It was amazing.
You know, it was a beautiful day, and it's actually National Puppy Day, so I took my dog out. We had a nice little time before I came here to work.
Perfect. Oh, I love it. Perfect way to celebrate. Glad that the weather is supporting National Puppy Day.
Same. Thanks, Lee. Coming up, a preview of Auburn's matchup against Kansas tonight. And in the women's tournament, the Tigers take on BYU in the first round. Highlights next in sports.
Miss Jordyn, you made a bracket.
I did make a bracket. I called it beginner's luck because that's pretty much that's what all my picks are. I think I'm at like 70% right now.
That's really good.
That's all beginner's luck.
Listen, it's all the people that close their eyes and pick are the ones that win. Who's your champion?
I am picking, I think, Duke. I think.
There you go, girl. I'm with you.
I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad pick, but that's what I'm going with.
Looks good so far.
Okay, thank you so much, Maria. A major milestone in Syria, U.S.-backed forces have already declared military victory over ISIS. Coming up, a look at what's next. U.S.-backed forces have declared military victory over ISIS in Syria after freeing the last pocket of territory held by the militants. The milestone marks the end of the self-styled caliphate that ISIS carved out in large parts of Iraq and Syria in 2014. NBC's Matt Bradley reports from the front lines in Syria.
Baghouz, Syria.
The group no longer controls any territory in Syria or Iraq. However, it continues to carry out insurgent attacks in both countries. It also maintains affiliates in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. A white officer who shot and killed an unarmed black teenager has been acquitted by a Pennsylvania jury. 17-year-old Antoine Rose was fatally shot in the back by East Pittsburgh police officer Michael Rosfeld in 2018. Rosfeld testified that Rose and another passenger fled during a traffic stop and that he feared for his safety when they ran. The not guilty verdict sparked protests when it came down last night. Members of the community gathered again today to call for justice.
The verdict today says that that is okay, that is acceptable behavior from a police officer. We look forward to moving forward with our civil rights suit.
Friday night, several shots were fired at Rosfeld's attorney's office. Authorities believe they were fired in response to the verdict. Chicago police are looking for the person responsible for killing an off-duty officer and injuring another man early this morning. Police say two men approached a parked car with two off-duty officers and two civilians inside. One of the men opened fire on the vehicle, killing one of the officers and seriously wounding another man. Police have not determined a motive for the shooting.
This appears to be an unprovoked attack against a group of individuals who went out to unwind on a Friday night. We have very good video of this heinous attack, and detectives are working right now to trace the movements of these offenders. Mark my words, we will find them.
Police say they have questioned at least one person of interest, but are still searching for the two suspects. In New Zealand, Al Noor Mosque, where 50 people were killed by a suspected white supremacist, reopened today. Emotions were still raw, with people seen crying outside the mosque. Armed police were on site earlier this morning. About 3,000 people walked through Christchurch in a march for love. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern spoke to the crowd, saying that she was humbled to see the solidarity of New Zealanders.
I thank you also for your kind words. I'm humbled by them. But I believe what I've done has not been about leadership. All I have done is simply echoed the humanity of New Zealanders.
Police said they had reopened the nearby Linwood Mosque as well. New information out of Texas. The Coast Guard has closed part of one of the busiest waterways in the country, the Houston Ship Channel, due to problems stemming from fires at a nearby petrochemical tank farm. Another fire reignited Friday at the Intercontinental Terminals Company in Deer Park. It's the same chemical plant where a previous fire burned for nearly 4 days earlier this week. Friday's flare-up caused flammable chemicals to seep into water near the plant.
Our focus at this time is to ensure the safety of our on-scene responders and also to mitigate any impact to the waterway. And finally, ensuring that the Houston Ship Channel is reopened once it's safe to do so.
The Coast Guard says work is underway to contain the chemical benzene and other contaminants. Officials say there's no timetable for reopening the channel. A cruise ship with engine problems sent a mayday call today off the coast of Norway and began evacuating passengers. The Viking Sky cruise ship ran into stormy seas and high winds and declared the emergency. Police say the ship managed to moor in a bay where rescue teams responded with 4 helicopters and several boats. Passengers were airlifted to shore. The evacuation was expected to take several hours. Well, we are well into tax season, and so far, tax refunds aren't much different than they were a year ago. After the 7th week of filing season, the Internal Revenue Service reports the average tax refund is $3 lower than a year ago. Tax experts say refunds could be smaller for people who did not adjust their paycheck withholdings after the new tax law changes last year. GoFundMe is banning anti-vaccination campaigns. The fundraising service said Friday it will shut down any campaign that promotes misinformation about vaccines. It has a policy that prohibits users from making health claims that have not been approved or verified by regulatory agencies. The move to specifically ban anti-vaccination campaigns comes after companies like Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest have removed similar content. In news around Alabama, there's new hope for patients suffering from sickle cell disease. One doctor says she may be able to cure the disease with the help of one of the most feared viruses in the world. Steve Crocker has a story.
It's like getting stabbed in your muscle and you can't move. You can have pain in your face, in your feet, in your back. It's the worst pain.
That pain is why Diva Hill barely made it to graduation from Bessemer City High, and why she walked across the stage with a cane when she did, and why a trip to Florida to watch her younger brother compete for a national championship became a frantic search for medical care.
My blood pressure was high, my heart rate was too high, my oxygen was too low, so they admitted me in the hospital.
We've known about this disease for over 100 years. We only have 2 FDA-approved drugs. That's ridiculous.
Dr. Julie Cantor, who moved to UAB in January, is part of a team at the National Institutes of Health testing a form of gene therapy they believe could be a universal cure for sickle cell. The disease turns some of a patient's red blood cells into sickle shapes, which can clog arteries, causing intense pain. The new therapy takes a patient's stem cells and then uses what sounds like a frightening yet highly effective way of transporting a fix.
We take the HIV envelope and we take out the letter that actually encodes for the bad stuff, the virus, but we leave the envelope that allows it to get into cells. We put in what I call a new letter, a letter that spells the right kind of hemoglobin. So now it's in an envelope and it delivers it into the stem cells of someone with sickle cell disease. And then it produces that normal hemoglobin.
Cantor says the approach has been successful in patients with thalassemia, another blood disorder, and is now beginning to work with sickle cell patients.
I always tell people who undergo transplant and this type of therapy, give me a year and I'm going to give you the rest of your life. There was one specific patient, he was actually an NIH patient, he was running 3 miles by 6 months out, and he'd never run 3 miles in his life.
I've been thinking about it and praying about it.
At just 21 years old, Diva Hill, who had to give up her restaurant job because of sickle cell, says the therapy would give her a chance to do something she's always wanted to do.
I would try to enlist in the Army and try to get my family out of Bessemer and take care of them, because they take care of me through everything I go through.
Hill says if she can join the Army, she'd like to study to become a nurse. UAB hopes to start enrolling patients in the trial in about 2 months. When we return, Lee has a final check on our forecast. That's coming next. All right, well, that's it for WSFA 12 News tonight at 6. We'll be back tonight at 10 for more.